But today, I'm the greatest of all time. Thank you.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo, no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I love. I got a poker face, but honestly, I'm not one to bluff. I flip a switch, never miss, man, I always stay up. Don't let them see you, always have a plan to stay tough. This life ahead of you ain't easy, it was built to be rough. But that's what makes a personality, is tragedy, bruh. So keep your head on your shoulders. Now we ain't out here moving rocks, we out here moving boulders. Now we ain't getting posterized, we out here making posters. And we ain't got nothing to hide, we move forward like soldiers. You better wake up for the pay stub, or you'll pay up. Don't make love to the game, bruh, fuck the game up. Change up, rearrange stuff to your greatness. Famous for the way up, play the game, bruh.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top, yeah.
You know I'm always honest, there ain't no way I'll ever stop it.
I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top,
I'm always flirting with pain, she like to hurt me and maim. I'm always working to change, but she's still lurking the same. I keep on building a dynasty while the haters be trying me, but they hate from inside.
All right. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Unscripted here on the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. Here, I'm going to be your host and producer this evening, Logan Landers, and join me, as always, to do some NCAA previews, Jay McLovin.
Hey, Logan. It's good to be here, brother. Like Stat Guy was saying earlier, man, there's a lot of good sports going on this week and over the weekend, so it should be a lot of fun, brothers.
Yep, it's going to be a good one. And, of course, Sack Guy, Dustin Reese. How you doing this afternoon, my friend?
Doing great. Ready to eat like a fatty this week and have leftovers for another 4 days after.
Oh, you're not kidding. The leftovers are going to be tremendous as well. Oh, man. Anyways, let's get into this one, guys. Oregon State kicking things off. Jay McLovin, you have the floor.
Yeah, I really, this is one of those games that really means a lot to me because obviously, Texas is trying to get up into the end of the FC or into the playoffs, and this is just one of those teams that's in the way for us right now. At number 6, Oregon, going in front or reversing up against number 11, Oregon State. This should be a pretty good game, quite honestly. Hopefully, I'm expecting it to be a good game. I mean, it is an in-state game, and I hope, like Texas schools, that the Oregon schools had that same kind of, competitiveness when they play each other. So, again, you got number 6, Oregon, number 5, Washington State. I need those two guys along with FSU to really take a tumble so we can slide up. So it really does start off with this game, particularly 10-1 Oregon going against 8-3 Oregon State. This is Bo Nix, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know who's going to get this Heisman, guys. Bo Nix is just playing out of his mind. He's got almost 3,600 yards, 35 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions. So he's got a lot of scores, and he doesn't turn the ball over a whole hell of a lot. And that is just an amazing stat line on this guy. Obviously, the other ones that are going up, with the likes of Caleb Williams and the likes of Penix Jr. and then Jaden Daniels. I mean, there's a lot of good company for this Heisman watch, and Bo Nix is just playing right into that. And it's going to be interesting to see who walks away with this Heisman, considering the company that Bo Nix is in and the company that is in with Bo Nix. You got Ugalele over there playing not too bad, 20 touchdowns and 6 picks. So he does turn the ball over a little bit more. But Martinez, for the love of goodness, man, is playing well as, he's got 1147 rushing it at 9 touchdowns. But Irving is doing just as well at 149 for 1,002 and 10 touchdowns. So I think the slight edge, yards per carry, does go to Irving, but not by much. I think really the difference in this typical game is going to be Nix versus Ugalele. And can Ugalele not turn the ball over? And can Nix do well against that Oregon State defense? I think that's kind of where that lies. Oregon State is coming off a loss to Washington. But, guys, This was not like a blowout game. I mean, they only lost by 2 points, for crying out loud, to the number 5 team at 22-20. Penix was held to 162 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is incredible. Johnson ran for only 89 yards. So they did a really good job on defense overall against a very good offense at Washington. Ugalele got 164, but again, he had 2 interceptions. And that's what worries me going against Oregon is can Ugalele not throw those interceptions, not give those turnovers back to Oregon. Martinez did a really good job running the ball at 26 for 123 and 2 touchdowns. So the way I see it is I think Oregon State has a shot at it. I'm not going to go against Oregon at this point and Bo Nix. I think that's just a little bit much. But I'm not going to say that Oregon State can't rock Oregon and take them out of the equation either. I'm going to say it's 35-28 in favor of Oregon. But, guys, watch out for this Oregon State defense, which is, I think, going to put a really good testament to what Bo Nix is or what he will be. So let's see how that turns out. But, again, I think Oregon State needs to run the ball heavily so that you don't give Ugalele an opportunity to get those interceptions. And, again, they have to apply the pressure to Bo Nix and try to get him out of rhythm if Oregon State does want to get the win.
All right. Well said. Dustin, who do you got winning this one?
Kind of what Jay said. I think a couple of weeks ago, the Heisman race was down to maybe 2 people, and now it's kind of looking like it's a 3-person race between Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix. But the last couple of weeks, Bo Nix is making as good of a case as anyone to win the Heisman. He goes and has 6 first-half touchdowns this week, had 6 touchdowns last week, and that's 12 touchdowns and 0 turnovers the last 2 weeks. You keep that up for another week, there's really no argument to be made. It's just a matter of where was this Bo Nix when he was in Oregon, or not Oregon, Auburn? Because if this Bo Nix played when he was in Auburn, he would have won the Heisman already. But the fact that he had kind of an up and down career in Auburn and had the transfer out, it's just amazing that it took this long for Bo Nix to kind of reach his full potential. You look at Oregon State last week, they had their opportunity to beat Washington. The weather was terrible, which was a big reason why the passing game was limited for Michael Penix. It was also the fact that Oregon had the ball for 22 of a possible 30 minutes in the second half. So they kept Michael Penix off the field, and I guess the one way you can maybe beat Washington is you keep Penix off the field, because the one possession that Penix got on the field, he did what he needed to do, got 2 first downs, iced the game over. This is going to be a very big game. Obviously, Oregon needs to win this game to clinch a rematch with Washington next week. They need to win this game to remain in the conversation to make the college football playoff versus Oregon State. A win here puts them at a tie with Oregon in the Pac-12, and then you got to start going through tiebreakers as to who makes it, who doesn't make it, this and that. But I just think the way that Oregon's playing right now, they to me look like a team that's worthy of a playoff spot, even if they don't get in because of having that one loss. But I think they are playing – outside of Georgia, I think Oregon's playing the best football in the country right now. I like Oregon in this one. I'm going to say 38-24.
All right. Yeah, this is going to be a really good game because y'all broke it down really well. And I'm with y'all. I mean, who would have thought Bo Nix would have been here so late in the game? I mean, everyone, whenever he left Auburn, a lot of people said that his career was pretty much done for. All the hype he had died down, but I mean, he's proven that, he is a very solid quarterback, and here he is putting in work for Oregon, as we've seen for the past 12 or so weeks. And then we look at Oregon State. They have a pretty good lineup, too. Like Jay mentioned, kind of undervalued. Not a whole lot of people talk about them, but they are a very solid team. For this one, though, it's going to be a close one. I'm going to go Oregon getting the tight win, 33-30, in a really good matchup this upcoming weekend. It's going to be a good one.
Can we make the case that the Pac-12 might be the best football conference in the country this year?
They're certainly being extremely competitive. I'll tell you that. One thing I wanted to point out. And Logan, Stat Guy pointed it out first, and it's a really interesting thing. When Jalen Hurts was with Alabama, you saw him kind of play well, but he got pulled out of the national championship game. And then he goes down and he gets up with Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma, resurrects his career, goes on to do great things. Now he's out there with the Eagles doing even better things. And, same thing with Bo Nix, with Auburn. He just wasn't doing as well at Auburn as what he could be. He goes out to Oregon, gets on a new coach, new system, and now the guy is flourishing to what could be possibly the Heisman guy. And it's amazing. Sometimes you just got to get out of a system. Mm-hmm. into the right system to really flourish. And I think that we're seeing not only with Hurts, but now we're seeing it with Bo Nix.
Well said. All right, let's keep it moving here, guys. We're going to the SEC now. And speaking of Auburn, they are going up against their rivals, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Dustin, I'll let you start things off with this one. Who's taking the win in this historic rivalry?
Alabama's going to smoke them out of the park. They're going to win by they're going to win by probably 28, if not 35.
Whew.
The fact that
35.
Auburn lost to a rebuilding New Mexico State team this past week and basically looked like complete dog crap in the process is not the kind of game you want to have heading into the Iron Bowl, whereas Alabama is peaking at the right time. I'm going 42-7. I just think Auburn is pretty much a dead team walking at this point.
Jay, do you have familiar thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Stat Guy hit it right on the head, man. Look, if you go into New Mexico State and you get your butts blown out 31-10, I think the writing is on the wall as where you are as a program. Thorne, 7 picks, turnover prone. It's just not looking good for these guys. And Alabama, yeah, you're right. Alabama is just going to absolutely eat these guys up and spit them out. I really was hoping for a better Auburn team to go up against Bama because Bama's sitting right at number 8, just basically on the heels of Texas. If they don't, I don't think they have eclipsed Texas in the rankings, but they're right on Texas's heels, man. And I would have loved to have seen more of an athletic program going up against Bama to kind of knock them down a little bit, but that's just not going to happen this week. It's a very boring game. I probably wouldn't even look at it. I would probably just scan over to the next game just because it's just going to be an ugly thing.
And it's sad to me also, Jake. This is one of the, when you talk about college football and rivalries, this is one that always gets brought up in top lists. And it's a shame that Auburn has been kind of going through a rebuild for quite some time now. Meanwhile, Alabama, aside from the one loss on the season, they have steamrolled anyone and everyone. And they've shown that they are a really good program still. But yeah, I think coming into this one, it's going to be a massacre. It ain't gonna be pretty. Shield your eyes. If you have any leftover turkey, just go and heat that up. Don't. I don't even know about this one, but for me, give me the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'll go 42 and give me Auburn 10. I'll be a little generous.
Let me say one thing more. I don't think I've ever taken Auburn as seriously as when they had Cam Newton. I think when Cam Newton left that university, that was really the end of Auburn as far as a competitive Auburn in my eyes.
What are you saying,
not only that, though, they had Tommy Tuberville, Gene Chizik, and Gus Malzahn as their head coaches before they got Hugh Freeze now. And all three of those guys had a decade of success with Auburn. But then all of a sudden they have what they consider one down season where they go 7-5, and then the next year they fire the guy. Well, you wonder why your program is in the position that it's in because you're firing a coach based off of one bad season when they gave you 6 or 7 straight years of success the years before that.
No, that's well said. Well said. We'll see if they ever get it back on track. All right. Speaking of possibly another massacre, another really big rivalry, Georgia Tech. Jay, I'll let you kick things off since you lived in Georgia for quite some time, so I'm sure you know of the rivals that these two are.
Yeah, this is one of those games, just like Auburn, that makes me thankful that when I'm scrolling through games on my remote, that they give descriptions of what game or what teams are being played on this channel. That way I don't have to accidentally click on it, only be disappointed and click out of it. Yeah, that's the way it is. I mean, Georgia is 11-0. Georgia Tech is 6-5. I will tell you this. I'm not going to go through breaking down Georgia Tech because we just know what Georgia Tech is. So there's really no sense doing that. UGA did blow out Tennessee 38-10 and Ole Miss at 52-17. I bring up those two scores because, quite honestly, Logan, I've said this several times, that up until they got to the back end of this schedule, that Georgia hasn't played anybody, and it's just been really pitiful the first part of their schedule. I mean, it was soft as charmin. It was just ugly. But now we start to see the back end of the schedule. We're starting to see Georgia click in, do lots of good things. Bowers is back. He's doing this thing again. So the only thing I will say about this Georgia team, the only point I want to point out about this Georgia team is, as we get ready to go into these playoffs, of course Georgia's going to be in the playoffs. But I got to be honest with you, Logan. Beck I'm not really feeling him. Edwards, I'm not really feeling him. The defense of Georgia, I'm not really feeling it. I think this is the year that I don't think Georgia gets the three-peat. I think Georgia gets beaten in this playoffs. I'm not 100% sure who it's going to be yet, but this is a tough field coming up with Michigan, FSU, Washington, Ohio. I mean, there's a lot of good programs that's going to be in this playoffs. And the one thing that I'm just not impressed with right now is the overall status of this Georgia team versus the past 2 seasons of Georgia. And I'm curious to see how they're going to do once we get to playoffs.
All right, Justin, go ahead and give your thoughts on this one.
I mean, this is going to be another, I think, blowout game, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near the Auburn and Alabama game. Georgia Tech became bowl eligible for the first time since 2018 this past weekend, and that was after going through a coaching change mid-season where the interim coach went 4-1 in his 5 games as a coach last year. They removed the interim tag from his name, and now he's 6-5 this year. So apparently he's got that program heading in the right direction, and they should be kind of on road to be a better team next year. But we all wanted to see how Georgia would do when their schedule got tougher. And I think they've proven to everybody that they are still the best team in the country because the tougher the games they've had, the better they've played and the better they've looked. Brock Bowers is getting healthier by the week, which is always going to be a tough matchup for anybody because he is the best tight end in the country, and you can make a case that he's a top 5 player in the country because he's a matchup nightmare. Carson Beck isn't flashy or anything like that, but he does what he needs to do to win football games, and Georgia still has a very good defense and a very good running attack. I think Georgia Tech is able to keep this one close for a while, but I think Georgia pulls away in the second half 38-17.
All right. For me, I think that, Georgia's been red hot here lately. Jay mentioned the first half of their schedule, didn't really play much of anyone. They were definitely backloaded. And they have, they've been up to the task each and every week. As for Georgia Tech, I mean, you mentioned that they're 6-5, so I mean that's not a bad record at all. They're doing pretty decent for all standards, at least in terms of recent years. But for me, I think that Georgia's just gonna just get over them and then keep going forward to the college football playoffs. So I got a big win in this one. Give me UGA. I'm gonna go with a 50 piece. And I'll go Georgia Tech. I'll give them 14. I'll be nice here.
I didn't give my score, but I'm going to go right there with you. I'm going to go right there with you. I think Georgia dumps. I'm going to go more than that. I think Georgia could almost dump a 60 piece. And the reason why I say that is King is highly, highly turnover prone. Yeah. The guy's got 26 touchdowns, but he's got 15 interceptions. And anytime you got that many interceptions, and Georgia, I think Georgia's defense is going to feast on that, and I think they should feast on it. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a pick 6 come from Georgia's defense, and that's why I think they put up a 60 piece on those guys. I would not be surprised at all.
And all of one in every 200 Georgia Tech fans that are in Georgia will not be very happy. That's just how it is. All right, let's go to another in-state rivalry, North Carolina and North Carolina State. Jay, I'll let you kick things off with this one. Who's winning this one?
Yeah, this is kind of an intriguing game to me. Number 20, North Carolina. Both of them had the same record versus NC State at 8-3. So another in-state rivalry game. I would like to see, and I hope to see a strong competitive game. Drake May, he's not going to be in a Heisman conversation, but he's still a good quarterback. At 22 and 7 interceptions, he does tend to throw the interception ball sometimes. Armstrong, on the other hand, just kind of pitiful. 8 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. And Logan, I've told you this many a time before. Anytime your number 1 running back is your quarterback, that to me is always kind of an issue. So when Armstrong is giving you 117 carries at 522 and 6, that's kind of an issue. And Hampton is over there at North Carolina at 14, 14, and 15. So I definitely give the offense 100% to North Carolina, and that's where this game is going to end, is that on that offense, because I don't think NC State is going to be able to generate too much going up against this. But I will say this, North Carolina is coming off a loss to Clemson at 31-20. They also took losses to Georgia Tech at 46-42 and UVA at 31-27. So I don't want to sit here and act like North Carolina can't be beat, because far superior teams like we said, King has 15 interceptions, but somehow or another he wound up able to beat North Carolina and Drake May. So take that for what it is. Now, NC State, they did beat Miami 20-6, and they also beat Clemson 24-17. So, and matter of fact, if you look at break down that Clemson game, Morris only got 138 yards and 2 touchdowns. The running back Concepcion got him 2 carries at 51, and he also got him 5 catches at 83. So Concepcion kind of is the big guy over there at NC State. Morris he's kind of more or less subpar, but I don't want to say that NC State can't beat North Carolina because they have beaten better programs or good programs. So, but I am going to rock with Drake May on this, and I think North Carolina takes it. I think it'll be a close game, though. I think it's going to be a well-fought game, and I'm going to go 28-21 favor North Carolina.
All right, Justin, same results?
I think same result in terms of North Carolina winning. I think they win by a little bit more, like a 34-20 type game, 34-21 type of game, just because of their offense. I mean, when they're on offensively, they're the best team in the ACC, right up there with Florida State. But since Phil Luongo left North Carolina to become the Wisconsin Badgers offensive coordinator this past year, their offense has taken a little bit of a step back. Drake May's play is kind of taken a little bit of a step back. He was the guy that was being talked about as one of the 2 Heisman favorites heading into the season, one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft heading into this spring if he decides to go out. And you're not even hearing Drake May's name in the Heisman conversation anymore. I mean, yes, he's still going to be a first-round quarterback. He's still going to be probably a top 10 pick. But the fact that he's not being mentioned in Heisman talks at all at this point goes to show you the type of season he's had compared to the season that he had last year. And he's still having a good season. I'm not saying that he's not. It's just that this North Carolina team is just missing that it factor that they had last year. They don't have that same explosiveness that they had a year ago, which got them to be a top 10 team at one point before they dropped a couple of games late in the season. They're still a good team, and they're still a team that can give teams problems, so I'm still going to take them to win this one 34-21.
All right. For me, I'm going to go with the Wolfpack getting the win in this, or not the Wolf, the Tar Heels beating the Wolfpack. North Carolina will beat North Carolina State. How about that? I'll go final score in this one. Let's go Tar Heels. I'll go 35, and I'll go the Wolfpack. I'll go 20. I'll go 24. So on to the next game, which I can pronounce these two. The Michigan Wolverines and the Ohio State Buckeyes in a very, very anticipated matchup. Dustin, who's taking the win in this one?
Pay very close attention to this game, Logan, because Jim Harbaugh wants to coach the Raiders next year.
Yeah. Well, he's not going to be coaching this game. I know that much.
So we will see if Sherman Moore, who's the interim fill-in coach right now for Jim Harbaugh, can find a way to win this game and beat Ohio State to make it 3 years in a row. I don't think Michigan's going to have any problem letting Jim Harbaugh leave and letting him do whatever the heck he wants to do after this and just handing the program over to Moore, because the team has played really well under Moore in the 2 games that he's been the head coach. And honestly, you can make a case that Michigan's 2 best performances of the season have been without Jim Harbaugh on the sidelines. And that's kind of a telling thing for how good Michigan's been this year. Ryan Day, Ohio State, kind of the same thing. They've played some of their best games the last couple weeks, and that's kind of the same situation that Georgia was. They weren't tested at the beginning of the year. Ohio State's been tested now kind of these last 4 weeks, and Ohio State's starting to step up their play versus the opponent they face. This is going to be a low-scoring game. You have 2 of the best offenses, but you also have 2 of the best defenses, and when it gets to be this point in the season, weather's getting cold, teams hate each other, it's going to be a low-scoring physical game. I hate both of these teams, so I really wish this game would end in a tie so both teams can be eliminated
that would be
in college
insane.
Football playoffs. So that's not going to happen. But
That would be awesome, though.
I think Ohio State is going to win this one. I think Ohio State wins 20-16 and basically ends Michigan's hopes of getting back into the college football playoff.
All right, Jay.
Yeah, this game is super interesting to me. Ohio destroys Minnesota 37-3 last week. Michigan had a scare. They skated by Maryland. They almost got beat. Maryland put it on them to the tune of 31-24, and they got lucky they got out of there with the W. But that game posed some problems for Michigan. And that was, anytime I see a chink in the armor, I'm like a shark in water, man. I see that blood. I'm like, yep, okay, let's see what you really got. And that's the thing, right? With Michigan, losing Jim Harbaugh, that's a big thing because on the recruiting side of life, he is a magnet for recruiting. I wonder how the interim is going to be able to do on the recruiting side, not the coaching side. He's got the coaching side, but I'm curious to see how well he does on the recruiting side. Not that Michigan is a hard school to recruit for, but I wonder if there's going to be a drop-off with Harbaugh leaving. I guess time will tell in that scenario. But again, both these guys are 11-0. You got a lot of Heisman over there on the side of of Michigan with Harrison Jr. Over there is at 1,093 at 13 touchdowns. I think outside of the quarterbacks that we've all mentioned, Harrison Jr. Obviously, we can't forget about him being in the Heisman conversation as well. But Corum, geez Louise, man, that Corum guy, he's a tough guy. I remember seeing him on the sideline when he came off after scoring a touchdown. Guy's got blood coming off of his nose. And I'm thinking, I love guys like this. I love guys that are down there in the trenches, battling it out, physicality. It gets my blood boiling or going when I see games of football like that. When you look at the quarterback situations, these guys are damn near mirror images. They both got the same amount of interceptions, both got about the same amount of quarterback. So I think it's going to come down to Henderson versus Corum and how well Ohio can stop Harrison Jr. Am I right on that? Because I always get those guys mixed up. Harrison Jr. is Anyway, so it's going to come down to that. Ultimately, though, man, I think Ohio pulls this out. I think Michigan gets the beat here. I'm going to go. I think it's going to be a close game, though. I really do. I think Ohio gets it at. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Honestly, I'm going to go 35-21 Ohio.
Yeah, this is always a good game, and especially with both of these teams being in the top four for the college football playoff, this has major implications. So it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. I'll go with the slight edge to Ohio State in this, not by much, just because it's a big game, and for them not to have their leading coach, their main guy on the sideline, and things can get dicey, and we don't know how this interim coach could do in big game moments in a very big game. So I'm going to go with the slight edge to Ohio State. I want it to be a close game, guys. I do. I'll go 38-35.
All I can say is these two teams better have enjoyed this while it lasted because there is no Big Ten East and Big Ten West next year. It is straight up an 18-team gauntlet starting next year.
And that is going to be so fun to watch. Oh, man. All right, well, guys, that has been the end of our previews of the NCAA for this upcoming weekend. Jay McLovin, Dustin Reese, it's always a pleasure, my friends, talking some college football with y'all. Hey, enjoy your Thanksgiving, everyone. Enjoy your weekend, and we will talk to you guys again on another episode here of Unscripted on the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. We'll see you soon.